I don't think Tarek is thinking about long term. Like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to fight them here. It's hard to, like, chase them down. Oi. Stop fighting in the wave. Like, what is wrong with them? We can't really force anything here. Wait, what am I watching? What? What is going on?
As an ADC, you all know that what you just witnessed is a standard Tuesday night. And unfortunately, as the most team-reliant role, it feels even worse to have partners like that, because it feels absolutely hopeless since you're incapable of doing anything about it by yourself. We constantly send our challenger expert Hector into low elo, and he has to deal with partners like that on a daily basis. But the difference between how his games go and yours is that his terrible supports end up looking competent throughout the game. He doesn't flame them, ping them, or anything, and it's not as crazy mechanics that are making them look decent. He's just applying one simple technique that lets him turn any support he's playing with into a reliable partner. And the best part is, you'll be able to apply this instantly in your own games after watching this guide. Once you learn a single concept, you'll be able to turn almost any bad support into perhaps a lifelong duo partner. And keep in mind, this is just one of hundreds of famously effective guides that are designed to help you climb stupidly fast over at Skillcapped, along with our challenger tailored courses that focus on the things that will actually help you climb, just like this video does. If you're serious about improving in League of Legends, then sign up and use our service actively. And if you don't significantly rank up, you can claim a full refund, so there's no risk. And with that said, let's get into it. When dealing with a random support that you don't like playing with, the first thing you need to do is not immediately think that they're bad, but to instead try to label them for what type of player they are when it comes to climbing. Like it or not, the support you hate playing with is the same elo as you. It may not seem like it, but it's obviously true, and understanding this can let you overcome even the most ridiculous circumstances. This means that they must have some redeemable quality about them that allows them to climb to the same elo that you do. Some supports are good mechanically. Some of them potentially watch guides like ours and know how to make good strategic choices, or some of them are just playing really easy support champions who have high impact every game, no matter how unskilled they may be. Even the enchanter players who stand 20 yards behind you the whole laning phase have a redeeming quality. They're likely less prone to making mistakes, and are probably just going to sit behind you the whole game providing you shields and buffs. While having to identify your support strengths as a player every game may sound tedious, it's usually very obvious what type of player they are. A lot of players, especially in low elo, who seem to be really bad at one particular thing, tend to be bad at it because they put way more care into developing another one of their skills. Basically, this just means that what they're bad at will be the opposite of what they're actually competent in. For example, if your support is blind as a bat and never reacts to ganks or that sort of thing, then that just means they're more than likely quite good at trading, fighting, all-ins, and so on. And if your support is messing up every trade, skill shot, etc., that likely means your support will make better strategic decisions than usual, get better vision, or something of that nature. The simplest way of understanding this is sort of like point allotments in another video game. Every player in the same elo has the same amount of points. For example, platinum players all have 100 points, but the way each player distributes those points is entirely different, since everyone climbs in their own unique way. While most players tend to spread their points evenly in a bunch of different skills, the supports you hate playing with tend to forego certain areas and only focus on a couple of skills to climb. We're really emphasizing this because trying to understand your supports in this specific way can make playing with them infinitely easier. Going back to the replay that we had at the start of this guide, we'll be able to see Hector simply apply this principle to make playing with this Tarek much easier. During the earlier parts of the lane, he and Tarek got ahead instantly off the back of one of his engages. This seemed like a good sign that his support was actually competent. Tarek knew when to go in and how to play out the 2v2 so that they came out with 2 kills. But we already know that the Tarek is not a mentally stable player, as Hector found out right afterwards. Coming back to lane, we can see the beginning of what we previewed at the start.
I kind of want to let the wave push into us a little bit. I don't think Tarek is thinking about long term. Like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to fight them here. It's hard to, like, chase them down.
Okay, to clarify what Hector is saying here, he's just trying to play around the main strategy we always preach in matchups where you have a melee versus a ranged support. In most cases, a melee champion cannot properly engage into a ranged one when they're too close to the safety of their tower. What this means is that you typically want to bounce waves closer to your side of the lane, which will give your melee support way more room to work with. This lets them chase enemies down the lane and allows your support to find engages more consistently. The Tarek is clearly not aware of this. He's hitting the wave here, which delays it, pushing it into their side. He's actively working against his own win condition. That's why the following engage was so awkward. They can't really chase and fight Milio and Kai'Sa since they can fall back to their tower really easily. So you can see how easy it is to categorize this type of teammate. They seem competent in fights, but don't actually know how to set themselves up consistently. With these types of players, you're going to have to compromise on strategy in some way, and your main goal should be to set up some sort of fight. Even if the engage itself isn't perfect, playing around your support's one strength is better than trying to go against it. Later on, we see this happen.
Okay, so my Taric, this guy does not care. So I want to clear the wave instantly so we can just fight.
And with that engage, they chase down the lane and first get Melio, and then clean up Kai'Sa as well for their second double kill of the game. Looking back at the start of things, this isn't a great fight to start with. To get the skirmish going, Hector has to tank and clear the wave while also keeping Kai'Sa and Melio interested. He tanked a fair bit of damage just to keep them in range to fight. But as he said, this is all worth it to enable his crazy support. Watch Taric this fight. He actually plays it fairly solid, at least way better than an average gold support. He's weaving his heal and auto attacks where he can, and when Hector swaps his focus to Melio, he instantly swaps to finish him off as well. This isn't much, but you guys know that it's more than you could ever ask for from your supports, right? Compare that to the enemy Melio, who flashes super late and had poor positioning that entire fight, and it's clear to see why Hector wanted to just brawl. When you have someone who knows how to press their buttons, then just find any opportunity to actually let them press their buttons. This is the super simple concept that you can instantly apply, which makes solo queue so much easier to play through. Making a good play with no synergy will likely result in things going wrong, but making a bad or mediocre call with actual synergy will have a fair chance of actually going well. The best way of making any teammate look good is to sometimes just drop the ego and see if you can match their way of playing. It's not just being aggressive either. Let's take a look at an example of a support who is the complete opposite of that Taric. In this Kai'Sa game, Hector finds himself with a nice lead by cheesing the enemy Melio who is walking to lane. Now he walks to bottom where he gets a massive experience lead by getting the first 3 melee, whereas the enemy Jinx and Melio missed that EXP. Amumu has seen all of this. Let's watch how he proceeds for the next few minutes.
Oh, he can Q, because I was going to hit level 2, but Amumu doesn't really need level 2. Well, I can't really do anything on my own. Like if I try to trade with Jinx, Melio just shields her, and then I lose the trade. All I can do is kind of wait for Amumu. He's not really making opportunities for himself, but I can't really do anything more to make opportunities for him. Like the wave's in a good spot for him to control this brush and stuff. Once this wave equalizes, maybe we can go aggressive. Typically in melee lanes, when the wave equalizes a tower like this, your support can start playing aggro. We'll see what he does. We'll see what he does. I think we can just Q the Melio there, but it's fine. Kind of sucks playing this way. Like, I mean, it's not how I want to play, but like as an ADC in low elo, like, I mean, you can't force, like, trying to force the issue is like why people don't climb. Like, you just have to adapt to your support skill level. And you have to not tilt about it.
While it's usually Enchanter players who play like this, engaged supports can be just as guilty of it as well. It's really frustrating having a support who has had plenty of opportunities to fight just do nothing. Meanwhile, the enemy support is throwing spells and just being overall annoying. It's not fun and it feels hopeless to play these lanes. But his final thoughts are the difference between him and most low elo players. Like we said, he's not doing anything particularly special. He's just realized that he has a support who climbs by playing safe. A ton of low elo players climb to decent ranks by playing the way this Amumu does. Doing nothing is honestly a pretty consistent way of winning games. If you never put yourself at risk, your opponents are bound to make mistakes that you can punish and capitalize on for a win. Boring your opponent to death is a genuinely good strategy in solo queue. So all Hector has to do is be patient and play with Amumu's style. He's preserving his health and just conceding lane pressure. And Hector's patience will eventually have payoff.
Maybe. Oh, Poppy's coming. Is he going to move up? Poppy's coming. Is he going to move up? Poppy's coming. Is he going to...
While the gank itself isn't particularly great, it does relieve the pressure of being 1v2 in this lane, so he can push and set up a recall timing to get out of this lane. But the enemy Melio is hungry for action.
Please, please, surely this is the time to go in? Thank you. Like, what is that guy doing?
Even with a completely AFK support, Hector manages to make the enemy Melio look even worse. And again, it almost looks too easy. These are the types of supports ADC players hate the most. The Taric was mindlessly aggressive the entire laning phase, It's just constant fighting with no thought behind it. The Amumu was literally AFK the whole lane. Outside of outright feeding, you don't get worse supports than this, but both lanes were easily salvaged by Hector just adapting to his teammates' playstyles. In fact, it's almost unbelievable that such simple adaptations could have such drastic effects in your own games when dealing with a bad partner. But when you watch what a regular low elo ADC does in comparison, you'll see why bad supports can have such a huge impact on the laning phase. So let's do that. Let's tune in to a gold elo Twitch and see how he adapts to a Soraka's playstyle. Even as they barely walk into lane, you can immediately draw conclusions as to both of these players' playstyles. Twitch is constantly moving forward, trying to begin contesting space and heading towards this brush to have more lane pressure. Meanwhile, Soraka tried to land a Q on Swain, missed, and then just began conceding ground. Then as the fight begins, let's pay attention to Soraka's movement. Swain is overextending at the moment, plus Twitch and Soraka have the positional advantage over Swain and Ashe. Despite that, throughout the fight, Soraka consistently moves backwards. At the same time, Twitch showed no hesitation and clearly wanted the trade to continue. It cannot be any clearer what type of players these two bot laners are. Twitch is probably a very aggressive ADC who likes cheesing kills by coming out of stealth and abusing how strong Twitch's early game DPS can be. Soraka, on the other hand, is probably an enchanter who likes to play on the safer side. She'll throw out Qs and a heal every now and then, but she's probably not going to fully commit to fights. Play for a positional advantage, help you contest the push, etc. She's likely a slow-paced type of player. Unlike our previous examples though, Twitch will refuse to adapt to that. Let's take a look at this moment. Twitch sees an opportunity to trade. If they kill one caster minion, they'll hit level 2 and be able to take a good trade. As long as they dodge Swain's E, this is an easy fight to win. After seeing the early parts of the lane, do you think that Soraka is going to see that same trade angle? Yeah, of course not. Twitch goes for the trade and watch Soraka the entire time. She was not ready to fight at all. Unfortunately, this tilts Twitch out of his mind. He popped Ghost to make that play happen, so he keeps moving forward, gets caught out, and dies a pointless death. Hopefully, it's painfully clear how simple of a tip it is to match your playstyle to your support's skill set. You need to stop thinking of everyone in your elo as being capable of the same things as you are. Everyone has different strengths. Learning to avoid your teammates' weaknesses and playing around what they're actually good at will make climbing as ADC infinitely easier. And remember to consider joining us over at SkillCap. It really is the best place you can be to start ranking up in League of Legends. I personally recommend getting started on our Master in Minutes courses to quickly power your way through the fundamentals. You're also guaranteed to learn really useful tricks that very few people know about. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.